Welcome to the Blueprint Podcast, where we throw out the old blueprints so you can become who you were always meant to be. I'm your host, Jason Smith, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with your friends on social media and tag me in it at JBirdFit. Today, I have a very special guest for you, Kelly Walker. Kelly is a dynamic individual who is dedicated to empowering others in both the realms of fitness and finance. With a career spanning over 7 years in the fitness industry, Kelly has made a significant impact as a coach and mentor, particularly through her affiliation with Beachbody, now BODi. She has leveraged her expertise to guide hundreds of clients towards healthier lifestyles, assisting them in achieving their fitness goals, shedding weight, and establishing sustainable routines, all from home. Kelly, welcome to the Blueprint Podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
For those of you who don't know, Kelly and I have known each other probably about 4 years now. We met because of social media, which I thought you did a really great job with your socials. You've had a love-hate relationship with that. I was hoping that we could start out and talk a little bit about that with the limiting of the number of people that you're actually following and why you chose to do that.
Oh boy. First of all, I do think social media is like amazing for all that it provides in the fact that you can literally build a business from your phone. And so anyone can do that. And so that right there is just like phenomenal, like the age that we live in. And like you can just connect with so many people that you would never even be able to do, like connect with them ever, or even learn so many things. But at the same time, because of that, there's so much information out there and there's so much at your fingertips that it almost stops you from even being able to take in.
Yeah, it becomes overwhelming. And it's so many of us, we're so guilty of this. We run into this place of unintentional procrastination where I'm really stressed right now. I'm having a hard time. I'm just going to go ahead and pick up my phone. I'm going to scroll for, you tell yourself 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. And then a half hour goes by, 45 minutes, and you've wasted some time. But I definitely agree that social media has been this amazing tool that's allowed us to do some really cool things. If you have a mission, if you have a vision, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, and you want to bring that to fruition, social media is an excellent tool to be able to do that. And you're in the fitness space and you've worked with Beachbody now for 7 years. How did you get started with that, and why Beachbody? Because there's other programs out there that you could get involved in. So what made you choose Beachbody?
That was honestly like the first one that I started with. So I got into fitness when I became like a full-time corporate worker, and it was like my outlet. And I was just doing my own type of like at-home workouts. And I was doing like BBG, and there was something else. I would do like YouTube videos.
Yeah, you found YouTube, right?
And so I would do YouTube videos. And there was even Comcast videos I used to do too. I don't even think they have those anymore.
Yeah, you guys got a picture. This is like 2015, 16, 17, in that era. So like social media and all that other stuff didn't really exist the way it does today. So you're looking for workout routines, you're turning to YouTube and you find all this stuff that's available to you. What were those like?
They were good. There was, I would only do a couple people, but they were like you could do like 15 minutes. You could do whatever you really wanted, pick anything you want. So when I was like more serious into fitness, I got started on Instagram, and I was like scrolling one day and I found another coach who was with Beachbody. And that is when I then learned about it. And it's essentially the same thing. You have a whole like Netflix of workouts. And so that's how I jumped in and started with those programs.
But you initially started out in finance, right?
Yes.
So you get out of college and you get your first big time job. What was that like for you, getting that first job?
I started a big firm and I loved it. Like it was an amazing job right out of college because I was able to learn so much. And like I was with a team of advisors, and it was me and another lady. We were their client service associate is what it's called. However, our team was large. And because of that, like we had a ton of assets under management, which meant they could have had at least 1 or 2 more like ladies, but they only had us. And so
Right.
then we were just like overwhelmed and overworked. But I was there for 3.5 years, I want to say. And I just learned so much that it was just invaluable. And I was able to get my licenses and whatnot for all of that. But I
Cool.
wouldn't change that for the world because it really is what was like a catalyst bringing me into fitness.
Yeah. So you would say that you were absolutely grateful for the opportunity because you were able to learn so much from that, but you were also commuting at the time, weren't you?
Yep. So I
And
would go
that's so
into
stressful.
Baltimore and it would be, so it's 15 miles away and it would be at least 45 minutes to an hour to get there. And then at the time, they were doing construction on the main highway to get
So
out of the city.
they're always
So
doing
I would sit
construction.
there and watch the freaking stoplights going around and around, and you don't even move. You're just sitting at the little corner. You're just sitting there at the stoplight. Oh, it was dreadful. So that would be like an hour to an hour and a half just to get back home because the 395 was totally like being done with construction and whatnot. And those were some, I will always remember those drives. I couldn't do it.
No, I bet. And so then what was the transition going from, because you never fully left finance, you just happened to leave that job, but then there was something going on that caused you to get into fitness. So what was the real catalyst for that to get you into the fitness world? Because you weren't doing fitness
Mm,
before, you had just been doing some Comcast videos. And so
right.
there had to be something going on inside of you that was building at that time.
The stress and the anxiety and
Right.
the all of that. Yeah, I would get to work and I would sit down at my desk and open up my email and immediately have to get up or I would have just broke out crying because of how overwhelming it just felt. And I was like, this is not right. There's no way people do this until they're 65 years old. This is not right. Something's wrong here. Like, I'm not doing
Right.
it. This is it. Like,
This
help
this
me
does
out.
not compute. I do not like this.
And then there was a time I remember my mom had asked one of my brother's friends, like what she must have like just graduated college or something. And she was like, what do you want to do like after college or what kind of job are you looking for? And her answer was, I'm not like sure. I just want to make sure I love what I do and I'm happy. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a real thing. You like, I didn't even think about that. And
Right.
so when I realized that people can actually like enjoy what they do, I was like, then I'm not doing this job forever. Absolutely not. So then I started thinking, like, what do I actually enjoy? What is something that I do almost daily that I would love to be paid for? And what would I love to share? And it took like weeks to realize that it was fitness. And then once I realized it was fitness, I was like, okay, what can I do with this in order to start something aside from finance and just dive in so that I have something to look forward to because it's definitely not this job over here.
I think it's interesting. We know that we have to do this one thing. This is going to be our general income. This is where you get started. You're in this place where you're starting to build. You've never done this other thing before. So you don't know where it's going to go. And we start to think about this new thing being fitness and Beachbody as being a side hustle to whatever you're currently doing. And then you start to figure out and make a plan for yourself, an exit strategy, so to speak, so that you can begin to make this other thing more full time. But in order to do that, there's a lot of stuff that you have to figure out. So, who did you look to for guidance in that process when you were starting to build with Beachbody? Who did you seek out
So,
as a mentor?
so with Beachbody, you're essentially with a team. And so you have your coaches, like you have your coach and you have your whole like team and community. And so we would always, that's essentially how I learned. It's just like through them and through seeing others, like what they did and asking questions and then just like trial and error and figuring things out on my own. And just to me, there was no other option because I
Right.
was not going to stay there. So I was willing to do anything, whether it worked or not. That still meant it worked because then I would try something different, knowing that option didn't work. So you just like when you're excited about something, it brings this other level of energy that you didn't even know was within you. And so you take it and you run with it.
Yeah, this is where you hear a lot of influencers chime in and it's like you got to burn the boats. You got to you got to forget about all this other stuff and go all in on this one thing because it's your goal, it's your dream, it's your desire, it's your hope, it's everything that you need this to be in order for you to feel fulfilled. But at the same time, that's putting a lot of pressure on that outcome
Right.
and that opportunity. How do you manage dealing with the uncertainty of the outcome? Because when we first start something, again, we don't know if we're going to be successful with it. We have an idea and we can feel it inside that, you know what, I've been successful in other areas. So why can't I be successful with this? So, how have you dealt with the doubt and the uncertainty of building something for yourself?
So for me, I was never pressed on needing it to be like having this outcome by this certain time. I didn't ever place a timeline on it because I knew what the end result would be. And so I never would, I feel like that made it a lot easier because I just knew what the end result would be. And I didn't have to sit there and put like pressure on myself to create that. So I wasn't ever going to just jump out of finance and then go into coaching and just run with it. That's just not my type of thing. Like I have to have that stable job and know that I have that while I'm building this on the side. And so that also helped it a bit because I was not willing to just jump out, and just knowing I was able to have this passion on the side and be able to grow it in my own time, like when I wanted to at my like leisure, I want to say, but like I would do it before work, after work, during work. But being able to grow it on my own like timeline is what truly really helped. And sure, it took years and it took longer than a lot of other coaches to get where maybe I wanted to or was hoping to, but I was still okay with that because I was happy with the fact that I was just like doing something different and growing and entering into that. And it still brings you to so many different opportunities and relationships and experiences. So it just gives you that little ounce of hope, and you just need to hold on to that.
No, and this is what I love so much about you is you have this natural curiosity. You want to see how things operate, other people doing things, and maybe you want to do that. And yeah, you might be hesitant at first, but you start to figure things out and you look for the ways that you can start to build the skills that are necessary to achieve whatever it is that you're looking to do. And one of those things that you've done fairly recently, and this is going to be a shift in conversation, is you really stepped outside of the box for yourself with going to one of Joe Dispenza's retreats. I'm curious how you got involved with or got interested in Joe Dispenza to begin with and what your self healing journey has looked like.
I started Joe probably back in 2022, I want to say, but this is going to be a big jump. But so when you get what you want and it doesn't bring you the happiness that you were hoping it was going to bring you, what else do you do then? You're like, crap,
Yeah, you
that
don't have a
thing.
lot of options.
You don't. So you have to go within. So it was near the end of 2020 is when I just decided to like work on my mindset a bit, because obviously like in health, you know what to do, how to move your body, you know what to eat, you know what to do. It's just a matter of doing it. But if you're doing those things and you're still not happy, like mentally or emotionally and on the inside, then clearly you need to also work your mindset. And so
Right.
that's when I dived into kind of, I remember reading Think Like a Monk, and that really helped transform like just a
Yeah,
lot.
Jay Shetty
Yeah.
and diving what really transformed me from that book was that idea of detachment
Mm-hmm.
and gaining clarity on what that actually means. And we're not going to dive into that here, guys. If you want to learn more about that, you can get the book Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty and check all that out. But it definitely brings you into this new awareness
Mm-hmm.
that you just never had before. Like I never thought about those things in that way. And that was one of the things. I don't know if I got it first or you got it first, but somehow we shared that with
I
each
think
other.
I feel like you did maybe. I feel like you might have shared that.
I don't know. This is what we do, right? We share books occasionally and things that are
Yeah.
helpful that help guide us because we're very similar in a lot of ways. And it's even with our struggles, there's been some
Mhm.
similarities with that. And so I think that's why we get along and we share those things with each other because it goes back to it. I talk about this on the podcast all the time. I want to see other people win. And I feel like you're the same way, that we recognize difficulty in others. And if they're willing and they're open and they come to us, then yes, I'm going to share everything that I possibly can with you because I want to
Mhm.
see you lift yourself up. I know that you're struggling. I know you have heartache. I know that you're going through some difficult times. And if there's something that I can do to help alleviate that in any way, then I'm going to do whatever I can to make that happen for you. I feel like your heart is very much in that same arena where you're just willing to reach out and help others wherever you can. I think that's also what's made you successful with Beachbody and working through all that. But you chose to go to a Joe Dispenza retreat, and I'm curious what that looked like because I've never seen it. They look interesting. He's also got a movie coming out
Yeah,
called
I'm so
Source.
excited. Yeah, it should be because so Joe Dispenza,
Yes.
there's a reason he does not share the event outline, like the event details online before you sign up or
Okay.
even when you sign up. And that is because if people knew how intense what the schedule is, you wouldn't do it, especially as a beginner. But it's you basically get to choose what you want to take from those and how you want to experience it and like what you're going for. And so it's a lot of like meditations, and so you have to do a week-long advanced one before you can go to an advanced follow-up. And so the week-long is literally a week long. And so he goes into such detail about like the science behind everything. Essentially, people take plant medicine or
Mhm.
mushrooms or something, or you can even say meditation, but they'll do that to try and connect, I say, with your higher self. It's gonna, whatever. So they try and connect like you. So that brings them into a different realm, right? Like they experience other things and it helps them realize that there is more that meets the eye, right? Like things can get flipped around, upside down, based upon where you are and what you've.
Right.
So essentially, Joe is showing you he helps people realize the love and the happiness is from within. And he literally has science to prove that meditation can, like, your mind can change an atom. Like, it can literally change things and it can change your body. Not just that, but heal your body and heal others. So you can, one of the things he does is, I'll get into like,
No, I love it.
okay, so
Hit me with it.
So one of the things you do at the events is these called coherence healings. And so you have about, I don't know, maybe 6 people around one person who's going to be healed. Obviously not right then, but like the healing. So he guides you through the meditation, and you're basically like, when you're in that state of just like love and whatnot, like you're sending this person like so much love and just like you're all feeling it. And his events, like the energy is so amplified, like you can feel it. And so a lot of people will get healed, obviously not from like right there. I don't even think I could say that, but there have been so many cases that people have been healed from crazy things like diseases and cancers and whatever, everything
Yeah,
else.
you hear it and it
Ooh.
sounds so unbelievable because he says
No,
it on podcasts and everything else, and you're like, "Come on, man. For
no, but
real?"
it's the truth. Like you can go and just like you'll hear these stories, but also you can also have some of your own experiences and
Right.
realize that you literally can heal your body. And he's showing you, this is like the advanced long one, like he breaks it down how like when you're at this higher frequency in your mind, like in your brain, I don't know what the data and all of those are, like, you know what
Right.
I'm talking about.
Mhm.
But when you're at that, you're then vibrating at a higher frequency. So you're like, the brain waves are going faster. And matter is the slowest, like, frequency. So if you are up here, like in meditation and in your mindset, like you're at this higher frequency, that's giving you like more information to change the matter. So essentially, think about changing matter for matter. That's going to take a long time. If you were eating healthy, doing the workouts, and you're trying to lose weight, you're going to lose weight, but it's going to take you weeks,
Right.
days, months, however long it takes you. I'm not saying that you can just lose weight through
I was gonna say, can I
meditation.
meditate and totally change my body through meditation and not have to work out at all? Because that would be amazing.
You never know. You can heal a lot of things though through meditations.
No, I hear what you're saying. So we're vibrating at a higher frequency,
Mhm.
and that allows us to tap into things that we were completely unaware or oblivious to previously, because generally we're operating at a lower frequency. And
Right.
so here's what's happening when before you sign up for this event, and you've already primed your mind to be receptive to whatever it is that you're going to experience in that space. Now, this isn't everybody, but for most people, it's part of that placebo effect where you're just sitting back and you're like, I already signed up for this, so I'm going into this and I better get something out of it. So at least you have the energy of you're open to receiving. And then you get there and you start to feel all the different people around you, and you're interacting with these people. You might be having some side conversations about trying to understand what he's telling you and just reiterating it to one another. But then you
How
get into
do you
this.
know that? You so sounds like you've been there.
I'm making this all up as we go along. So you're around all of these people. And of course, because you're all primed for this, you're now vibrating at a slightly higher frequency. So you can feel it. And the energy of the room completely changes. And for those of you who you have a boss that you don't like, or you have somebody at work that irritates the shit out of you, and you walk into a room and you can just feel that energy, that's their energy. That's how they are feeling. And that's being put out. And you're feeling that resonance coming from them.
Mhm.
And so that's how in tune we can actually be with one another when you walk into that room. That's why they always say, read the room. Can you feel the energy of the room? And it's just like, yeah, you actually can. And if you've been to a concert, then you know what that feels like, and just the amount of people that are there for the same reason. So it would make sense to some degree that, yeah, you can certainly change the frequency of the room. Now, what you can do with that frequency is where it gets really interesting for me, because we talk about this idea of being able to heal and to do all these amazing things. And anybody that knows Joe Dispenza's story, he healed his back from an injury. And that's really what spawned all of this stuff that he's been doing. And now he's spent the better part of what, over 20 years
Yeah.
putting all this stuff together and creating these retreats and trying to build up the scientific information to support everything that he's doing. So at a minimum, if you're listening, it's definitely interesting and you should check it out and see if it's for you. He also has a series, and this isn't a plug for Gaia or any of this stuff.
Mhm.
We find it interesting. We love talking about this
Right.
stuff, but he's got a series on Gaia called Rewired. And that can be like a really good introduction for those of you who maybe have never heard of Joe Dispenza, you've never read his books, but it's a 13-part series. You go through it. He talks about the body and meditation and metaphysics and all of this stuff. He introduces you to the concepts. And from there, you graduate to, I guess I got to get his books, right? And it's You Are the Placebo, or
Mm.
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Becoming supernatural too.
Yeah, Becoming Supernatural. And all of that stuff sets you down this path of ultimately self-healing. And I know that's a controversial topic, and the holistic psychologist, she's really leaned into that. Even her podcast is called The Self-Healer's Circle. But a lot of people have mixed reviews on that. But there's something that happens when you do this stuff. You give yourself the information, and you physically, mentally, and emotionally change because now you've introduced this information. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you feel it, you
Exactly.
can't unfeel it. Once you experience, you can't just eliminate that experience. And you're just different. And it goes back to what you were saying, is you're now vibrating at a slightly higher frequency. You have raised your vibration, and you've done that through self-education and self-healing. And again, yet another thing I admire about you, again, is that curiosity to be able to do all those things. It's really cool.
Yeah. So Joe, like, I already knew a lot about meditation and different experiences before Joe. And I was never really interested in him because of all of the sciencey stuff that he talks about. So I'm like, who needs science when you can just go and do it and experience it, and it's there. You just know when
Right.
you know. And so I was never really into his stuff. And then finally I was like, I actually do want to learn.
Yeah, everybody's talking about it. I guess I better listen.
Yeah.
Who
So
who is the first person that you started to pay attention to in that spirituality space? I already know the answer, but
no, you don't.
I'm pretty sure I do.
No, you were gonna say Ecker.
No.
Okay. Now I feel like I don't know what to answer.
You just answer whatever the answer is. Maybe it was Dolores Cannon. I don't know.
No, it's not Dolores Cannon. No, you don't know. You're like making me question my own answer.
Don't let me do that. I'm not doing that. You're doing that.
I just remember one of the first books I read was Letting Go by David Hawkins. Is that who it is?
Yeah. Who told you
And
to
that,
read? Who told you to read
oh,
that?
Aaron Dowdy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
See, I didn't know if that's what you were going to say or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I took his 21-day like a mindset course or raise your vibration course, and that totally transformed my whole mindset. Like that literally transformed my life because I now saw things from a whole different perspective, and I was able to change beliefs that I don't even like. Why do you have certain beliefs? Where'd that come from? Do you want to believe that? You can change it at any moment. Like
yeah. So I took that challenge as well. And it's so interesting because it introduces you to all these things that I would consider myself at that point asleep. I was in the beginning stages of diving into attachment styles and trying to figure out relationship dynamics and why aren't things working out and what is something that I can do to improve. Because a student of life, I
mhm.
went to college late in life. I got my master's late in life. So I'm doing all these things late in life. And I started to realize, oh, there's some skills that I'm missing that I need to learn. And so I found attachment. And then through attachment, I found Aaron Dowdy because he talked a lot about relationships in the beginning. And
Mhm.
then he was also into that spiritual space. He introduced Joe Dispenza. And I was like, shit, I guess I'm going to read some Joe Dispenza too. And my brain, the way it works, I have to completely dive into something and I get consumed with it. And I don't suggest anybody does this ever in their lifetime. Like, just don't. It's not worth it. But I spent 2 years
Oh my
like
gosh.
honed in on YouTube. I read several hundred books because and countless audibles. If you saw my
Yeah.
library, you'd be like, oh my God. And part of the way that I learn is I listen to this stuff at 1.7 or 2.0
Super
because
speed.
I need to have it at super speed because if it's too slow, then I'm not paying attention. I'm not clicking with the information. A little bit about Jason that all you guys probably didn't want to know, but now that's how I work. And I don't suggest that for anybody because it can be overwhelming and all consuming.
Exactly.
But I chose to do that because that's how I learned. That's how I operate. So if that works for you, that's great. And if not, just save yourself. And,
Just one at a time. Maybe one every
10,
other
10
month.
pages a day is fine.
And take a piece from it and actually do something with it. Utilize it. Apply it instead of just going through it all and hoping it all sticks.
No, okay. I write things down.
Okay.
I talk about this all the time. You have to take the opportunity to, and if you saw my notes app, that's just
Oh
beyond filled
gosh.
with stuff. Yeah.
Me
And
too.
it's just like all this stuff. But yeah, you sit there. If you want to retain the information, then you absolutely have to take the time to grab a book or some paper, grab a pen, sit down with the information, write it out, try to remember what you learned, and pick out the core things that really just hit you in the face where you're like, holy smokes, I need to retain this. I need to remember this. When you write it
Mhm.
out, you're going to retain it better anyway. And it just becomes a part of you, a part of your DNA.
Right.
And then you might not recall all the information, but you'll recall a majority of it. And that's enough to keep you going through your learning process.
You'll recall like what you need to. I always think like
Yeah.
take what resonates and just leave the rest.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But you're also into aliens and Dolores Cannon,
The law of one.
the Law of One. Let's dive into that a little bit. What have been some of your experiences with, and you don't have to go too deep because everybody's got their own opinions on this stuff, but when you first learned about the Law of One, what was something that really popped out to you, or what was going on in your life at the time that caused you to check that out? Because it's a very random thing to come across.
So when I will, if we're going back to a couple of years, like before Joe Dispenza, okay. So Aaron Dowdy's thing was January of 2021. And that was when basically my world got flipped upside down, realizing that the inner is more real than the outer to me. And you just can't unsee what you know or see. Like it's just there. And so I spent like a couple months just like basically dark night of the soul of just, I can't do, of course you go about your day and you do the things, but you're just like, none of this is even real anymore. What am I supposed to believe? And I feel crazy, but I can't tell anyone this because they're going to think I'm crazy, but really I know that they're the insane one. So it's like, what do you do? And so I went on a spiritual retreat in April and I met up with, I don't know, a group. And I would just highly suggest to anyone that has ever had some sort of awakening, maybe you're going through your own dark night of the soul, to get around people with the same beliefs, because you will learn how not crazy you are and how you're going to learn so many other things that you never would have thought about or known or even thought to dive into from that. And it just makes you feel okay. So from that, I learned about I heard about the law of one. So I came back and I started reading that. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is giving me like some sort of direction, some sort of hope. Like I get it. And I don't know, there's so many takeaways from that. The channeling. And so you can believe whatever you want, but I think there's so many things from that that are just so applicable. For one, since I'm like rereading it right now,
Okay.
there's one about fasting, and that's what's been in the last couple sessions. And it's saying how fasting can bring you like clear, not just what's the toxins in your body. Through doing that, it like clears the negative thoughts within your mindset. And obviously gut health is wealth. So it's obviously eliminating that and then helping your thoughts as well and like your whole mindset. We know that to be true. And that's why a lot of people maybe early on will fast, and it brings them to a whole new mindset, and they see things much differently, and they might have had experiences of whatever they went through or things that they now see through because of that fasting, because their body has cleared all these toxins and whatnot. And so it's just interesting that it's talking about fasting that was like 20 or 30, 40, it's 1970s, 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, like years ago.
40 plus years.
Yeah, and then there another piece of it I actually read this morning was talking about how when you have an advanced person who I guess is into meditating and whatnot, they don't actually essentially have to fast with food to get to that like place, I guess. Like they could just use their focus of attention to clear like the negative thoughts and to actually change their beliefs versus having to go about the way of fasting if you were new into it.
I love that you mentioned fasting, because you read this in a lot of different places and everybody has their own thought process on this. And there's a lot of nutritionists out there and they all disagree with each other. And then some of them agree with each other. And there's just a lot of back and forth. And then you've got other people that are just like, oh, so you're not going to eat for 12 hours? Like that's what you're doing. You're just not eating for 12 hours, right? Or 16 hours or whatever that is. But we've popularized it so much on social media that now it's like this badge of honor. I just went through a 24-hour fat. Okay, so you just didn't eat for 24 hours
Right.
and then you're going to eat again and then that's all going to change again.
The
But
thing is, okay.
no, but so as you were saying, it was just your energy changes. So as you're doing this and you do it with intention, and you start diving into self-healing, self-help, personal development, all of those things, there is a natural byproduct that you start looking for different things because you're naturally raising your vibration. You don't know
Mhm.
that's what you're doing. You're feeling different and your energy level has changed. And those cupcakes that were sitting on the table are no longer resonating with you, and you start to look for lighter things to eat as you go through that process because you're raising your vibration.
Mhm.
And so you hear the certified health nut talk about this and all these different people that are out there, but it's really cool when you think about that it is a natural byproduct that once you start focusing in on your diet and doing different things, that you do feel lighter, you feel more capable, you feel
Mhm.
like you have more energy, like you can tackle more things.
I'm a fan of fasting. It's hard. See, I think everyone should at least do 24 to like the 48 hour, if not even 3 days, at some point in their life, because you will see how addicted we are to consuming just food, to consuming anything. Because if you take the focus off of food, and you're no longer to do that when you're bored or when you're stressed or when you're just feeling any way or you're trying to procrastinate and you're not thinking about dinner or what to
It's
have
my
or what to make
natural
or what to prepping.
self-sabotage.
Yeah, it's just like all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh. First of all, what do I do with all this time? Second of all, you also want to get your mind off of the food, so you're just trying to think of anything else. But yeah,
Right.
you just feel so, you just see how addicted that we are and how we have been like programmed almost to overconsume
Yeah.
because we don't technically need as much as
I
leave
mean,
what you
were
want.
were you a snacker?
Oh yeah, I like graze all day long. It's terrible. Like I could
What
just
would you graze on?
anything, like fruits, vegetables.
As
If
long
it's
as if it was available, if it was on, like, the table
convenient,
at work, you're like, "Give it to me."
no, not so much at work.
That's so wasteful. I can't let it be wasted. I gotta eat it.
No, but I realize for sure if I'm bored or something,
Mhm.
easily I'll just go to the fridge. Or if I'm trying to avoid doing something, it's, oh, let me just take a bite of this and a bite of that.
I
And then
think
like,
that's the biggest one for me
yeah.
because there's all these things that I know that I need to do, but I'm also at a place where I need help to do it,
Mhm.
and I don't have the help, and I'm not gonna have the help anytime soon because there's other things that, like, have to fall into place. And so I get stuck in this place of procrastination because there's these things that I need to do, and if I don't do this thing, or if I do this thing, then all these other things are going to fall to the wayside. So then
Right.
you're trying to play catch up. Right? And
Wow.
then because I procrastinate, I put myself into that catch up mode, and then it's finally my brain kicks in and I'll go for 12 hours straight on stuff and knock it all out at the same time, but that definitely includes a lot of snacks and peanut butter and jelly.
Right.
That's my go-to
I
when I'm
know it.
stressed. It's give it to me.
Those are so good.
They
What,
are.
like, have you ever added Nutella?
No.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
never been a Nutella fan.
What about marshmallow? That marshmallow fluff stuff?
No,
What? Okay, now
no,
you're totally missing out, but just don't do it.
not
Well,
a
you should,
marshmallow
but
fan.
you don't even need to be. I'm telling you, it's so good. We used
Mm,
to always have those growing up.
I'll let you keep the Nutella and marshmallow fluff.
No, so you only do the peanut butter and the marshmallow or peanut butter and Nutella. You don't have to do like them all, but you have to try one.
No, I have to do it all at the same time. No.
But there was one other thing I wanted to add about fasting
Okay.
is like some people say to like trust, or like I guess it goes with intuitive eating and how they'll say, oh, like I need to have this cookie or I want to have that. And it's, oh, go ahead and eat that. And sure, go ahead from time to time. But if you're not already like, I want to say like cleansed or like having eating well and moving, and you're just going to go and eat the cookies or trust your body and eat whatever it wants, it's going to lead you like astray in the wrong way because it's not actually cleansed. It's still filled with all of these toxins. And so, of course, that's what it wants. It's because it wants the sugar. It wants all of that. But once you do actually fast for a bit, you don't even want it. You don't even care. An apple was now like, or apple juice, like whatever juice if you're having any juice, it tastes like nature's, I don't know, nature's candy, but it just tastes like the best thing of your life. And you're just like, what? Who would even want that over there? And you can actually taste how different like a cookie now tastes like artificial, I would want to say, versus like when you
Yeah.
get something sweet. I'm not saying I like cookies too, but when you're fasting, it's just, oh no, I don't even want that. Like you can taste such a difference and you just become so keen on certain things. And then you can actually trust your body and allow it to lead you to what it does want versus trusting it from a place of where it's already off of it.
It's so interesting. And for those of you who are listening, none of this is medical advice. Make sure you consult your physician prior to doing anything new or different in your life and read the disclaimer of the podcast episode and all that other fun stuff. But I did I have done the 12 to 16-hour fast. I've never gone beyond that. Uh just because I'm always freaking hungry. I get to 16 hours and it's just I need 3 eggs because I'm working out on top of that, and I ruck anywhere from 6 to 12 miles a day. So it's
Yeah.
like my body, like, it needs the nutrition, and maybe not. Maybe it's lying to me. I don't know. Maybe I should try a 3-day fast and see how that goes. But I will say when you give things up, and this is really hard because we get into like elimination dieting and all that other stuff. And I've done that and it certainly worked. And like you said, you begin to see how just connected or how much you desire certain things, but it's because you've been primed for it because we tend to eat consistently. We eat inconsistently consistent because we
Mhm.
eat the same things over and over again. And we don't have much variation in our diet as a whole. And so it's like you're eating the same type of food every single day. And of course, your body's going to get used to that and expect that. So when you begin to eliminate stuff, you realize, oh my God, I have all these cravings and I want these cravings to go away.
Right.
But so I did Whole 30. And at the end of Whole 30, I just realized, man, there's just so much stuff that I don't really need or want. And then I just
Mhm.
never added it back in. And I don't miss it. I don't cry about it. I don't want it, don't need it. Over a year ago, I let alcohol go. And now I'm in this place of you don't crave it, you don't want it. Your brain isn't, oh, I'm stressed, or a celebration, or whatever it is for you that causes that trigger inside your brain that says, oh, I need a drink. It's just not there. And how freeing that is
Oh,
to
yeah.
just not have that and to know that you've got you. I've got me to such a degree at this point that I've got the tools of resilience. I lean into breath work and journaling and
Mhm.
meditation and going for walks and exercising. And some people say that you're just trading one addiction for something else. And it's maybe, but I'll choose a long walk over a six pack any day
Yeah.
because of the benefit that I've received from that. I sleep, I'm happier, and I don't care about skin tone or any of that other stuff, but it's you notice changes in your body and things are a little bit easier and you're a little bit happier. And then, oh my God, guess what? I'm actually sleeping all the way through the night.
The thing is, it's like a lot of times our cravings aren't actually for that thing. A lot of times, like you might not even be hungry, but you might have a craving, let's say, or maybe it's for alcohol, or maybe it's for whatever it is. It's you're not actually craving that thing. You're craving like it's usually a connection that you're looking for, or some sort of feeling that you're connecting
Um,
to that. If I do this, then I'm going to get that. And it's like when you actually see that it's not bringing you that connection because you're always wanting more. Because once you receive it, then you're like, oh, again.
Give it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's once you actually heal a little bit, you can see past that the craving isn't actually for that thing. It's for the connection within yourself. And that's, I think, what a lot of us are always looking for is that there's something greater and you know that there's something more within you. It's just a matter of diving into it and actually like feeling it. And
Yeah.
like you mentioned, breath work, that is phenomenal. I think that can heal. I think that would heal the world, honestly.
I think it would definitely have a great impact. And
Well,
I do want to add in right here that why did I do that? I do want to add in right here that I have a therapist friend and she introduced me to HALT. Are you hungry, angry, lonely, or
hmm,
tired? And I would add into that bored. And so when you're feeling this pull to these things that are outside of you, you can ask yourself, am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, or bored? And if that's the case, then you can go into your tools of resilience like breath work
mhm.
or journaling or something else that's going to be more helpful to you in that moment to help regulate your nervous system. And it's just a way to tap into the body and check in with yourself, which I think that's what you were getting into is that inner knowing.
Yeah, breath work, I just think a lot of people would heal one and also be a lot nicer.
Has it made you nicer, Kelly?
Well, maybe not nicer, but it does bring you some amazing realizations, I would say, and
What
heal.
what kind of realizations?
It depends on how long you do breath work. It depends on the type. It depends what you're like doing it for. But I don't know.
What came up for you? What is a new insight or something that you've accomplished through breath work?
I've had a lot of my own healing experiences through breath work, and that's why I'm so like I love it. Um, I
Would you
used
say
to,
that you've had like somatic releases because of that?
yeah, I would. If you have done, I can remember a couple ones that I've done that were probably like 40 minutes to an hour, and you just are gonna cry, and like you just cried because you realize like what you are, and you realize like how you're not like, maybe you haven't acted accordingly, or you're now like in this shame, like state of shame or of guilt. And essentially that's from unworthiness. And it's like when you realize how worthy you are, and then you've seen, like, you just are like, oh my gosh, I have so much compassion for you because you've been like this and now you're feeling shameful. But really, like, it's okay. You're just let it all go, let it go, and understand like that you are so worthy and just so full of love. And like you actually feel that like you can't even help but just come out and just, oh my gosh, okay, I'm not doing that again, like over that. So that's just like one example. Like unworthiness is always like a one I have to work on a little bit.
And with all your clients, would you say that's something that they're working on as well, is that feeling of unworthiness?
So we don't usually go down like that type of route, but I would say unworthiness is one of the ones that's very popular, and it's also very easy to see, I would say, in others. Like you,
Recognize in others what
yes,
you have inside
exactly.
yourself.
Yes, exactly. And so you can, it gives you an ability to have so much more compassion for not only yourself, but for others, and being able to meet them where they are. And then being able to sprinkle in little breadcrumbs, because obviously I can't just tell you what to do and say, here's what I do. Now you do it, it's going to work. Everyone's so different. So being able to see where they are based upon how they talk, how they act, the way they're showing up, the way maybe their workouts are not even eating according to the meal plan, or how you're like talking about yourself. You're able to like sprinkle in those little breadcrumbs of, I don't know, helping them see where they are, I would say, and in areas that they can go down and do some of their work.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that people face is the way that they talk to themselves. And it always shows up in the way that they talk about themselves to other people. So when you're interacting with somebody, the language that you use, the body language that you have, how you're interacting with that person, how we're relating to that other person, and they start asking you questions, and maybe you're standoffish, you pull away, your body language gets turned away, and it's this, again, that overwhelming sense of shame or unworthiness, or I don't belong here, I shouldn't be interacting with you. And maybe you shouldn't be interacting with somebody, and that's your inner knowing telling you, hey, get away, don't do that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just the language that we use with ourselves comes out when we're dealing with other people, and that can cause rejection because people say, man, they're really going through it. That self-deprecating humor was funny at first, but now it's just yikes. There's some stuff that you got to work on. But and I've been there. I used to have that same type of language going through my head, and then you start to challenge that, and you don't realize that you can challenge that because you just think that's who you are. And that's like the big epiphany if you're listening to the podcast right now, is that you get to challenge your thoughts. You get to think about thinking. This is meta
Mhm.
awareness. You get the opportunity that when somebody gives you something, you can take a look at it and you can say, you know what? I don't agree with that. I can see how you would get there and how you might feel that. And I get that you're trying to give that to me because you're feeling a certain way, but I can't make that a part of me because I disagree with you. And that's because you know who you are, you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, you know why you're doing it. You are so good with you
Mhm.
that I don't need to take or accept anything that you're giving to me without looking at it first and then decide, is this something that I can learn from? I always say, are you being somebody calls you an asshole? Are you being an asshole? That's a very valid question. Are you?
Right.
Can you see that what you just said right now is something that an asshole would say? And then can you apologize for that and recognize that, yeah, I need to repair in this moment because what I said was not helpful to this relationship or however we're interacting with each other. And so you get the opportunity to question that and learn from it and grow from it. If we can get more people into that space of just thinking about their thoughts and then not taking things personally from other people as they give it to you, because I could pile on a whole bunch of stuff onto you and you're going to walk away again with all this shame, blame, guilt, fear,
Mhm.
anxiety, frustration, irritation, sadness, loneliness, depression, anger, and you just take it because you don't know what to do with it, and you believe that it's true because you've known this person for 20 years, you've known them your entire life, they're your best friend, and they keep pushing you down and pulling you down like crabs in a bucket. They're going to stop you from being that full bloomed out version of you because it feels threatening to them every time you show up with a
Mhm.
little bit of joy and happiness and resilience and love because they don't have it inside themselves. And that's why it's so important to be able to challenge not only your own thoughts, but what other people are giving you as well.
Yeah. There's
That was a lot. I know.
It made me think of two books, and one is The Untethered Soul.
Oh,
Did you?
love it.
I think that's a great like starting off book for
Yeah, by
someone who's like
Michael
looking to.
Singer.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good one for someone just like starting off, and like it will help you, or it could help you hear that voice inside your head and kind of challenge it a little bit. And then Eckhart, do you say Toll or Tolle?
I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways. I always say toll, but I'm also from the Chicagoland area and we shorten things every now and again and people don't really fully understand us half the time, so it's fine. But
Okay,
Tolle, Tolle, I don't know.
I would say yeah. We'll just go with
We
Toll.
just go with who else is named Eckhart, right?
Exactly. Why even have the last part?
You don't need it. It's
Okay.
just Eckhart. Eckhart. Eckhart.
Um, yeah. So the Power of Now and then New Earth.
Yeah.
That New Earth is like one of my absolute favorites. I could just listen to that on repeat, and that one can truly transform each. There's one line in there where he's saying something about how some people just like maybe their reaction isn't how you would react or choose to react, and maybe you think they should have did something different, and that's assuming that they know that they have a choice. And it's so true because a lot of people don't know that they have a choice in mindset or beliefs or whatever it is, and you do have a choice.
And so that would be for all my little anxious attachers out there that follow my content and they have that anxious attachment style and you keep complaining about the avoidant of all the things that they're not giving to you. They're not showing up for you. They're not communicating with you. They're not texting you 24/7. They're not meeting your needs, your unspoken needs, by the way. Let's be clear on that. But you think that they have a choice in the way that they're reacting to their environment and they may not have that level of self-awareness yet because it hasn't been created and they may never have it. And I saw a statistic that 90 whatever percent people, really high, right, they don't have this self-awareness that's necessary to be able to change themselves, to be able to navigate that experience. And so very few people are actually diving into that personal development space or reading these
Wow.
types of books because it's fearful. It creates a lot of fear inside of you to change because I don't know what's on the other side of that. So if I admit all this stuff about me, I have to change my self concept. I have to admit that I have been wrong in so many different areas of my life, or I've been incomplete, or I've struggled, or I've hurt people, or whatever it is that you've experienced in your lifetime. You have to begin to admit all of that stuff to yourself and then bring resolution to that inside of you. And that's not only scary, but it's difficult because who are you after that?
See, but I would look at it and say how what a freeing thought that is, because for one, something horrific could happen, maybe, let's say, and maybe that's what brought you to going inward or working on your mindset. What that option is over there. And so let this be an exciting, like, to you to dive into something different and know that there is change because you already know what that looks like. So you don't want to go that way. Anything's better than that, right? So let that just excite you, and doesn't even matter. Just don't look back.
Yeah.
But,
You've been on this path for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So why not do something
right.
different? But
Exactly.
it goes back to that sense of self-worth. I don't feel worthy of changing. And if I allow myself to change, then I don't know who I'm going to be after that. But that's the beautiful part is you get to create that person and you're actually already inside of you.
Mhm.
And for so many of you, what you'll realize as you go through this, your self-healing journey, you'll take a look back on your past and you'll find a moment in time where somebody made you small. You felt diminished. You were a joyful little kid that was happy, and maybe you were loud and you were boisterous and you had all these feelings and you were fun and you were loving, and that was overwhelming for the people in your life at the time, and they didn't know how to deal with you in that time, and so something got said that or something was done that diminished you in that moment, and then that set you up for your self concept, who you think that you are for the rest of your life. And so now as an adult, you're in this place where you're struggling with that self concept. I don't know who I am, where I'm going, what I'm doing, or why I'm doing it. I know that what I'm doing right now isn't working for me, but I don't know how to get to that next place of growth, expansion, and ultimately lead yourself down that path of joy. And so it's building that self concept and challenging your past experiences.
And so the unknown, Joe Dispenza will talk about it a lot. Whereas like the unknown is where creation happens. And that's where that version of you is laying that you aspire to be.
Yeah.
And so much of our life or day and thoughts and behaviors, I think he says 90% of it is done unconsciously, like subconsciously. And it's like repeating the day before. And if you
Yeah.
just change up something, do something different so that you're putting yourself into the unknown and creating a different pattern versus repeating the old yesterday, leaving no space for the unknown, which means there's nothing new. How are you going to receive any new information to like your cells, your body, your mind, if you're just repeating the same thoughts and the same things every single day versus getting uncomfortable and just trying something new and allowing yourself to experience it and be a beginner and maybe suck at it or not know what you're doing and just see where it takes you.
Yeah. I think again, you put yourself and you block that frequency from coming in because
Yeah.
you can't seem to get there. So what was one thing you said this in your stories a while back of doing something different? What was it
So I try and
to
do
help
something,
shift you out of that?
I try and do something weekly to force myself to get
You're always
uncomfortable.
doing something.
So my most recent one was aerial yoga,
Okay.
and
How's that?
it was different. I would go again. It's have you ever it's like a hammock.
I was gonna say, is that the one with the cloth that's like
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
down?
that's what
And
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, so I went and did a class on that. And so for me to just go out and do something by myself is actually like really tough for me. So I force myself to go to like certain places or events to get myself uncomfortable and be okay with it. And sometimes I just like to see how I'm going to react or handle it and just, I don't know, be in the moment because it forces you to be so present and be right there versus in your head in the past or in the future or thinking about what someone else is thinking. You're actually forced to be right there. And so I love that. Another time I did a hip hop class.
Mhm.
That was just dreadful.
Why was it dreadful?
Because I can't dance.
You can't?
Okay, not hip hop.
Okay.
I can dance in the mirror just fine, but
Can you?
line dance?
Yeah.
I
Uh,
think I did that one time in Michigan. I went to it was like,
Like a country bar?
and
Yeah.
then this man, he's probably married and 40 or 50. I don't know. He just came over to me and he was
Easy
like,
on the 40 or 50, all
"Oh
right?
yeah, you're right."
Relax.
Okay, he was just an older man. It was cute because he was just wanting to dance, and so I was like, I don't know how to do it, and he was like, "Oh, I'll teach you." He just pulls me in, and that was another thing where I was still doing my weekly uncomfortable thing. And so I was like, okay, that's it. Done. But yeah, I did. I did line dancing.
Oh, that's really cool. So then what happened with the water the other day?
Oh my gosh.
What
See, this is
what
things
what
that I
was that
don't like
all
to
about?
repeat because I don't want to get back into
You put it in your stories. So,
only because so usually when stuff happens, I'll tell one person just so I can get it out,
uh-huh.
but I don't go around and
And
announce it or
do
tell
do
people.
you pick different people so
No,
not one person knows everything about you?
no. But yeah, I just try not to focus on any situations that I don't want to repeat. But with the water, it's not a big deal. I was more sad about the container than I was the water.
It's plastic. Oh.
Yeah, but if you saw this girl, with her jugs of water and the cart
Oh,
just
I
tipped
fully
over.
pictured it. I was like, "Oh, that sucks."
Oh, yeah, it did.
Just
Yeah,
everywhere. Yeah,
it's
it's not fun.
terrible.
But what made you think that the cart was gonna make it over that?
The lip.
Because for that to, like, tip, how fast were you going?
I wasn't going fast at all. And this is why I saw the lip and I was like, eh. And the moment I hit it, I knew it was bad news. The cart just went just starts doing a whole, and the momentum's carrying it, and the little water on the 3-gallon I had on top now is totally sliding off, and I'm still holding on, trying to get it to come down. And I only have bruises that I came away from. And then it got to a point where I was like, it's either the cart or it's me and the cart. So
Oh man.
let it go. And then the cart just went totally over and everything just came out. And I was like, wow, okay, wonderful. And had to pick it all
Awesome.
up.
Yeah. Was anybody around?
I honestly didn't really look because I was so then focused on like, I need to just get this all together. And
like, oh, look at the poor lady in the Whole Foods parking lot. That's horrible.
honestly, now I think about how
What happened?
I hope that there's a camera, and I hope that someone got to see, and I hope that they
Oh, and
even
it's on
post it
social
online.
media
Yeah,
now? Yeah. It's
that would
totally
be
on
so funny.
it's totally on TikTok. If I find it, which I probably will if it exists, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I would enjoy that. Yeah.
And then everybody's gonna be like, why would you pick on her? You can't do that. That's not nice.
But I was actually surprised that there was only one lady that I remember looking at. Then I started thinking, would I have helped someone in that situation? Or would I have just walked away or looked away? Or I don't know.
It's awkward, right? Because should I be touching your groceries? Is that gonna be okay with you? Yeah, because I just bought these. Now they are mine. I don't want some stranger touching all of my
True.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they can't really help that much.
But at the same time, are you okay? Is
Right.
usually nice to hear after something like that.
Exactly. There's this on my way to Joe Dispenza this last time on the plane. I was listening to an Eckert podcast, and it was about materials and how it's not about the materials, it's about our attachment to it. And so I'm listening to this and I'm like, oh, I'm good. I got it. I'm not attached to anything. Maybe like
Yes,
my
you
phone
are.
here and there. Right. Yeah,
You,
maybe my
you
phone here and there.
absolutely are.
I'm like, it's okay, fine. I listened to it, but I was like, yeah, I knew this. I get to Florida, they lost my bag, and I don't have my bag. And I was like, huh, great. Now I get to learn the lesson. Like, I hear
Right.
you. Like, I'm attached to it. I want my stuff because then you're so much more in control and comfortable when you have your stuff because there's that attachment. And I had to learn to just release it all and let go. And I was like, I guess now I really do see so much clearer
Yeah.
now.
If I get it back, cool. If I don't, well, then I guess I wasn't meant to have it.
Exactly.
Chloe. Can you hear her when she does that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it like really loud?
No, you can hear her.
Chloe balls.
She wants to go out.
No, she has access to out.
Oh, does she?
Yeah. She can go out whenever she wants.
Does she have a dog door? It's got to be a big one.
Yeah, I guess it's 2 feet by 1 foot.
Okay.
It's just the bottom of the door,
Yeah.
right? And then it's got the flap. It's so funny because you'll see her like barrel through the house because the house it's long the way that it's not like shotgun long, but she's got a straight path from the front window all the way to the back door. And then she'll like barrel through full speed. And then in order to get through that flap, she's got to hit her nose through first to push it through the bottom part. And then she jumps through with her chest and her face like this. And then her back legs, she pins them together and then just hops.
Oh,
It's
that's
like,
funny.
it cracks me up every time. And then when she wants me to throw the ball to her, she'll cut. I built a ramp because she was having issues with her back legs a couple years ago. So she's got a ramp out back. And she'll run up the ramp. And then I just hear the flap like halfway open. I hear this little shoo. And then I look down and her head and her ears are sticking through the bottom of the flap from the other side of the door with the ball. And then she'll just like,
Oh,
she waits for me to look at her and then she goes,
yep.
the ball drops. I grab it. And all I do is I open the flap and I throw it through the flap into the yard. And
Oh, that's funny.
that's our game, apparently, that she
She knows
created.
what she's doing.
She knows what she wants. There's no doubt about that. Kelly, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to add to the podcast today? Do you believe in aliens?
Yeah, I do.
And
I don't really.
are they aliens or multidimensional beings?
Probably the latter. I don't think that they would want you to call them aliens, because that sounds like they're not trying to hurt us. They're not here, they're there to harm you. I feel like they're nice beings.
I was having this conversation in physical therapy today. And because people like Joe Dispenza, they talk about metaphysics and all. I feel like we're being primed for this new information. It's not going to be new to us, but new information to be released to the general public about multidimensional beings and all this stuff. It's just so interesting how you look on social media and the way people are talking about things. And you think about our eyes, we can't see the full scope of everything that's around us because our eyes only see at certain wavelengths.
I love the radio analogy, and it goes about like different frequencies. It's like you tuned a radio right now, you'd pick up any station that you want, and it's not like it's just doing that. Like, where is it getting those, like, the stations? That frequency is in the air right now, but it's not like we know. It's not like we can hear it. How is it doing that? So to think we only see what is there or hear what's theirs.
Then we know in order to see something different, we have to use different types of goggles to be able to see the stuff that we can't see. And then there's all sorts of stuff climbing all over you, and it's microscopic, and it's like its own little universe, and you can't see that on a daily basis. You don't know that all that stuff is happening, and there's like little universes all over you and all this stuff that's happening, that you're a whole ecosystem and you don't realize it. So it gets really interesting when you start thinking about all the potentials of the things that could be out there that we don't see, that we don't really think about, because again, we're just locked into this story that we all tell each other. God bless it, dog.
Some fun stuff going on out there.
Walking past the house.
Think?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like the Amazon guy. She'll lose her shit.
Oh yeah, I bet.
You think she's gonna have a heart attack when she does that?
Oh my gosh.
Girl, chill. I love
Yeah.
you.
Get it together.
God, you're a hot mess. She's not. She's doing her job, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that she does her job. Because when we move to a farm, she's got a job to do.
Exactly. So she's training.
Yes. She turns 7 in a couple weeks.
That's not very old.
Yeah, for shepherds, that's about halfway.
Oh.
Yeah. And we've already had a couple issues here and there, but for the most part, she's happy, she's healthy. Really, I got to get that farm though. That has to happen.
Yeah. My friend Allie, she had a German Shepherd, and he lived until 18.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. He was big too.
What was her secret with that one?
Yeah, I don't know. Wow. He was like good looking.
Feed the dog table scraps, and that always seems to be how it works. Like the people and the animals that like live forever. Yeah, they just totally ate like shit and just ended up making it to 120 years old.
Yeah.
Kelly, thank you so much for being on the Blueprint podcast today. Tell everybody how they can reach you, how they can follow you, and how they can work with you.
So first off, you can find me on Instagram, and that's Faithfully Fit with the L's.
The L's are ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can find me on Facebook. That's pretty much the only social medias I would say. But you can always reach out through, I would say, Instagram. That's like my main platform. You can find me on TikTok or Threads now, but I don't really ever use those.
Who uses Threads? Let's be honest.
That's what I'm saying.
I used it for a minute just because it was new, because they always like when you use new features, and then I don't have time for this. I
clicked on a post the other day just because I wanted to read it, and I couldn't read it unless I signed up for Threads. So then I was like, this is how they get you.
Yeah.
I wanted to finish reading it. But yeah. So if you're looking to get into fitness or health, start somewhere on your journey, and everything is from at home. Well, you work out from home, and you'll have a whole array, and there's always something for everyone. So feel free to reach out, and I can always send you information on that. But
yeah. How many people? So you work with what, 10 people a month?
Yeah, I'll do like 10.
And so they sign up with you. And what does that look like? They go through a daily workout with you?
No. So I will send you information. You'll tell me a little bit about you and what your goals are and whatnot. And we will find like a package based upon your needs and what you're looking for, whether it's protein, whether you want the pre-workout, and there's like a huge array now, and collagen, whatnot. And so we just find like a package for you, but ultimately you're going to get all of the hundreds and hundreds of workouts, and you'll start off with whatever program, that we decide on. And you're put into a community on Facebook and like an accountability group, I would say, so you're around other people doing the same things and to keep you accountable. And not only that, you check in with me and I reach out and chat every single day and just help you along. I'm here for questions. And
No, I love that. That I think so many of us struggle with not having the accountability partner to help us navigate the changes that we're trying to make. And it's just so hard to make those changes, to dive into it, to trust yourself, to even just like you said, you've learned to do so many things by yourself, but that was something that you had to learn and it was a process. And sometimes taking that first step, signing up, filling out the application, interacting with you for that first time, and then starting down that path of accountability, it's just nice to know that you've created a beautiful community of people that are going through very similar things and they have the ability to communicate with one another and support each other. And of course, interact with you for additional guidance. So I think that's really cool that you do that.
yeah, and truly just getting started is a huge step because it's like there are going to be trials and there are going to be errors and there are going to be things that maybe don't go perfectly for you. And there's always going to be those excuses and whatnot, but it's not perfect. And you learn along the way and then you get to navigate through those once they pop up again. And that's the beauty of it.
I
But
agree.
yeah, but thank you so much for having me. It's
For
been
sure.
fun.